Perfect. Welcome, everyone, to our new series of How To for 2021. Today, we are going to talk about assessment in the ELA, English Language Acquisition classroom. And today, I'm with Mariah and Dawn. I'm going to do a little introduction, and then each of us is going to introduce themselves. So, my name is Montserrat, and I'm one of the presenters in this session, and I'm working close to Dawn Dutton and Mariah Guillen. Hi, Dawn. How's it going?
It's great.
And you, Mariah?
Oh, wonderful. Just here, staying warm, staying safe, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, well, this is so nice because we're a small group and we hope you guys are good. We were talking about how cold some of you are in the South, and we are so grateful for you being here and take some time to join us and have these meaningful conversations about assessment.
Today's objectives are, at the conclusion of this webinar, we hope that you will be able to, number one, assess students' readiness to succeed in an online class and assess their needs in class and help them with tech issues. And Monse is going to talk about some brilliant ideas she had about how to do this. Number two, we hope that you can implement at least one new high-tech or low-tech formative assessment. I will be talking about formative assessments and high-tech and low-tech examples of each, and how to use summative assessments effectively to inform lesson plans and to improve student achievement, and Mariah will be covering that.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Dawn. So let's do a quick check-in. We want to know, we have Nearpod there, but actually we are not going to use Nearpod. We're just going to use slides. So we want for you to use the chat, okay? Use the chat or you can talk. It will be great to hear your voice. But if you cannot do it, what kind of assessment do you currently use in your instruction? So please, anyone, we would love to hear from you.
We use Best Plus and Tape.
Okay. Best Plus and Tape.
Best Plus.
Anybody else? And what other kind of assessments you guys use? I know. I'm going to put here chat too, so you can chat. Mariah and Dawn will be responding to the chat. But if also we can talk about formative assessment or summative assessment, which are the topics that we are going to review. But we would love to hear if you have any specific assessment that always works for you and is like to-go assessment. Do you have any? Dawn, you have any that you would like to share?
I like physical responses. Using hands, using body, using signs, a variety of things like that.
That's a very good one. And you, Mariah?
I am with Dawn. I do like watching those more like the cues of assessing students, thumbs up, thumbs down. Those are always really fun. I think with our classes right now, especially being online, the easiest way to get some of that those assessments in are through multiple choice forms, some of those very basic formative assessments.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, you guys, because today we're going to see some examples of that. And if you have any comments, you can still chatting with us through Google Meet. Let's move. So today we're going to talk about three kinds of assessment. What's that?
Oh, we're just saying hi to Emily.
Oh, Emily, great. Awesome. Nice to have you here, Emily. We are so happy to have you here. So today we are going to talk about three kinds of assessment. I want you to look at this diagram. And today we are going to focus on these three. We have needs assessment in the beginning. Then we talk about formative assessment and summative assessment. So as you can read each of these and take a minute to read, those are some basic goals or outcomes that we obtain when we use these kinds of assessments. So the question is, and this is what we're going to talk first, do you use needs assessment? Do you use it? How do you use it? Then we're going to talk about different ways of use formative assessment. And then we're going to talk about some examples of summative assessment. So take a minute. You can read what is written there. And then we will move forward to show you some examples.
My coffee got cold. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
That's great. I love that. That's great. Thank you for letting us know. So moving forward to that, let's talk about needs assessment. Look at this diagram. So we have here, and honestly, needs assessment is the most important process of assessment. And because it's the most important part because you can determine the motivations and goals, short and long term. Also, you can find the gaps, right? Some students come to the classroom with different gaps. They could be academic gaps, but also there could be some personal challenges that are being very negative for the learning experience of the student. And also we can address the technology skills. And also the best part, and this is something that we talked last time, is connecting with students. Sometimes instructors in small programs are the ones who they do the whole process. But in larger programs, you have advisors that do that job for you. And also that's why we recommend that all instructors have some kind of needs assessment to connect with the students. Then how this actually affects your experience teaching. So based on the needs assessment, you can determine the learning outcomes of your class, right? Your syllabus and what goes there and how you're going to plan your instruction. You are going to identify how to facilitate your class and the style and how you are going to deliver. We talk about placement, like Nancy mentioned. Some people use tape, sometimes you use casas. I would love to hear what you guys are using. And, sometimes we need to do some internal, more flexible placement because, as you guys know, a standardized test is not accurate, right? They cannot sometimes tell you where the students go. And the most important one and relevant to these days or this last year is choosing the appropriate level of technology. Are we using low tech or high tech techniques? With that said, I want you to check this table. So we divided the needs assessment in 3 stages: placement, motivation and goals, and tech level. And as you see, I put some here. And I would love to hear when we have a moment to just share our experiences. What do you guys use? Because these are all techniques that we use in our classroom, but it depends, right? Depending on the number of students, the support systems we have, the access to technology, there are so many factors that impact on our instruction. And they both can work low tech or high tech. And, some of them are more rigid or more standardized, like the tests that we need for reporting. Also, for example, in my program, we use CASAS, reading and listening. But a lot of the times, writing and speaking is not assessed by a test. We have to make our own systems. The same here with interviews, reflections, writing about their lives. So that's what it comes, this part that we have to do this more flexible testing. And we have, moving next, then we align that to motivations and goals. So we created a form, and I'm going to show you very quickly and share with you some of the templates that we've been using. You are welcome to use them and share also your feedback because this is an ongoing process. And lastly, the tech level. And this has been the hardest one because in our classes, we do this in each of the sessions that we teach. In other words, we do this via Google Meet or Zoom, and we actually dedicate 2 weeks of onboarding to teach and assess the technology levels of students. So I'm going to show you in this link some of the examples that I just mentioned. So can you see my screen, Don, Maria? Yes?
Yep.
Perfect, thank you, making sure. So this is a goal setting form that I'm using with my students, and you're gonna have access to this link too. Like I said, this is all for you guys, and you can use it as you want it or make it better. I would love that. So then, as you can see, it's a simple form. I usually do it with the students. I meet with them and we have a meeting and we talk about the importance of setting time, right? So then we talk about Google Tech tools, and then we talk about personal, like long-term goals, personal questions that I want to know about them, tech tools, and then coming back next session and all, especially for students that are already with us for longer than a semester. We always try to make sure if we are addressing their needs and if they are coming back. So this is a folder, like I mentioned, and we are going to share that with you. Also here, a little self-assessment to talk about technology. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Can we
Yes.
print that off? That page right before this one, can we print that off?
Of course, you can print it.
Are you going to send us all of this, Monse?
Well,
Of course. And let's
Nancy
do
will
this
have to
right.
print it off. Yeah.
No, you can
Yeah,
print that
she
out.
sends it to us. We can just click on it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
look, I'm gonna share on the link right now because that's the point. And we are going to try to put more tools because the goal of this is for everybody to use them, right? And to improve it and let us know if this works. But in this case, this is some things that I've been using in my classroom and they've been working good. Okay, so enjoy. And if we're gonna, like I said, put in more resources for you to access, and let's keep this conversation, because in our workshop, the goal is that we would like for you to hear from you which tools you want to learn how to use, and we can create the tools together, So think about that, what tools you want to use, and then in the workshop, we can make it happen. Okay, now we move to formative assessment. Go ahead, Don.
If you would, I only have a couple of slides here. I don't really need to be presenting. If you could just move to the next slide. Okay.
Perfect, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In the formative assessments, they are quick and easy is the idea, and obviously we know that formative assessment is a quiz, is an assessment along the way. It is not at the end of a semester or something, and they come in two forms here, the low tech and the high tech for us. I want to look at the low tech first, because these are things sometimes we forget about, and of course we need live cameras, right? All of you have your cameras turned off right now, but I'm going to ask you to do these things anyway. And if you would turn your camera back on, in the low tech area over here, I've listed 5 things that we can do in a class to find out an answer to a question. If people are, keep students engaged, make sure they're on board answering the questions. We make them answer a question here. The question for you is, and I'd like you to raise your hand. Raise your hand if you are cold.
You're cold?
If you are cold. I want
to turn on my camera. I'm going to do it. 1 second. Let me put my camera on and come back to the presentation. Okay, let's do it.
Emily, Farah, can you turn on your cameras?
And Farah, okay. Monse is cold.
I'm very cold.
I'm pretty warm right now.
Is anybody hungry? Nope. Okay. So raise your hand to answer that question. The second thing is a way for us to answer a degree to which you are hungry or cold. Raising your hand, and put your hand like in front of your face so we can see it in your camera. Give me 1 finger for a little bit cold or a little bit hungry, and 5 fingers for very cold and very hungry. Let me see your hands. Okay, Farah's a little bit cold, not terribly cold. Oh, Monte's a little bit cold. Not cold. Okay, good, thank you. So another thing we can do is stand up, right? True or false, stand up for true, sit for false. You can do that with your students. And another thing that I like to do, we can I like to do it in face-to-face classes. We can do this live. So we just studied some medical thing about something going on with our face. So we went to the doctor and we were told that something on our face needed to be worked on or taken care of or something. So we learned about parts of the face, and what I'm going to ask you to do with your index finger is to point to parts of your face. So point to your left eyebrow, please. Excellent, excellent. Point to your left ear. If you are using your right hand, point to your right elbow. See, you can't touch it, can you?
I can.
You that flexible, monster?
The other,
Look.
when I usually have, sometimes my classes can get a little bit loud, and the last thing I mentioned here is shout out a meaning of each word with a vocabulary flashcards or free rice or something, freerice.com you might use to put up show a vocabulary word in class, and just have students shout out the meaning of it as quickly as they can do it. So those are some real quick low-tech kinds of things we can do. On the other side here is the high-tech. We can share a document. Now, at 1:01 p.m. in the chat, I put a link to a Google Doc. If you would, I hope this works, if you would click on that link, we're going to all go over to this Google Doc that I created, and I'd like you to answer a question in that document.
It's under your name, Don?
Yes, at 1:01 p.m. It's a bit.ly link.
Okay.
Did it work?
I can't write on it.
What does it say, Nancy? Can you see it?
It says examples of way to save money, but it says eat out less, but it won't let me write on it.
Okay, it must be a sharing thing that I didn't exactly do correctly. Somehow there I
Actually,
didn't give you permission.
our internet in Roswell is coming in and out. We're having a lot of trouble with the internet this week.
Oh yeah, I
So-
understand that.
Yeah. We didn't have electricity for a couple hours. A
Yeah,
couple days ago.
okay.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
won't let us write.
I that was working perfectly this morning. I don't know what exactly happened, but when you set that up in Google Classroom, typically it's easier for students to get around if it's a link that you've already put into Classroom. Those maybe a little bit better than working with Google Meet here. But other things you can do is share a community, build a community, create a Google slide or a slide presentation. Let your students create some slides to demonstrate some knowledge they have. Post things on a website, make a website, create a Facebook workplace, or just simple things like answer something in the chat or say, how you doing? And on Zoom or on Meet, we have emojis we can use. Post the emoji that shows us, how you're doing. Next slide, please. These are the assessment tools. That was the link that I put in the chat there. But Google Docs, PowerPoint, or Google Slides, the sites, Google Groups, they're listed here. Of course, don't forget Google Forms. We can embed those into a Google Classroom very easily. And then both Zoom and Meet have whiteboards you can throw up, and students can add to things on there. There was one more. What am I going to do? No. Yes, one more. Next slide, please. You have in the chat over here, you have a way to send a message to everyone on the bottom. I would like you to answer in that bottom space that says send a message to everyone this question. Name one low-tech method to assess student comprehension online. Please write your answer in the chat now. You have 1 minute. I see one answer.
Come on, you guys, you have a minute.
Farah, Emily, do you understand how to find the chat?
I sure don't.
Okay,
You don't
look
see
over.
a light? Yeah, there's
on the upper right, there should be a word that says chat on your screen.
I'm on my phone.
Ah,
oh, I
Yeah,
see.
I don't really.
that might be
I tried
different.
to pull it up on
Yeah.
my laptop, but I
And then there's a little kind of a thought bubble kind of figure next to the chat word, the word chat. Oh, thank you. We got 2 simple surveys with raised hand. I like that. Thank you. So that's about a minute, I think. So we got your answers. I love the idea of putting a time limit for students to do this kind of thing.
Sorry.
So whose computer is that?
My
Moving
phone.
on.
Nancy, you're on twice.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I was trying to help with the chat. Sorry. Keep going. There we go. Okay, we're gonna go to summative assessment.
Thank you, Monse.
Mariah.
All right, you ready, Monse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, I didn't have my. I love how Monse turned on her camera. I just got back from a doctor's appointment, so I was like, I look like a mess. I'm not turning on my camera. But Dawn, I was raising my hand for all of those. I'm tired, I'm cold, and I'm hungry.
Bless your heart.
oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, I could feel that. I knew that anyway. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I would have liked to see it though.
All right. So summative assessment. Summative assessments are usually those things that a lot of us are very familiar with, like we do them all the time, but we don't really think about it when we do them. We just say that it is a test or it's an assessment. So summative assessments are pretty much the end of a unit, the end of the term, some really big assessment that we are trying to give to our students for various reasons. Monse, since you have it on there, can you go back up to number 9? Number 6 right quick.
Tell me which one is number 6.
Keep going. Right there. All right. So summative assessments, and once I had you guys read these individually, which is really good. But I just kind of wanted to put it because I didn't put it with the slides, but summative assessments have a purpose, a very specific purpose. So they evaluate the students' overall skills. Like I said, at the end of the unit, at the end of the session, whatever you want it to be, it's usually a very big project or we like to say test, exam, something like that. But it helps to pinpoint strengths and weaknesses, but it also helps to modify and build the curriculum. So summative assessments aren't just to look at student performance, but it's also to be reflective for teacher performance. So I wanted to go over that right quick because those are like the key points that I want you guys to remember. So Monse, see, I'm having Monse work here today.
No problem. I'm tough. I just wanted to help with the chat too. That's what I'm sorry for the noise, but I really wanted to help Emily to use the chat. But
no worries.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
All right. So summative assessments. So when we think of summative assessments, there's various ways that we could separate this. And I have it into 3 separate sections. So the first one is a final exam. And this can be tied in kind of with formative assessments. It's very similar because it's a quick exam. It's a quick, multiple choice test. However, because it is summative, that means that we're taking all of the skills or a good portion of the skills that we learned in a unit or over the course of a certain time period and putting it all together. So for this one, a final exam could be a multiple choice test. And I do have an example there. Unfortunately, this isn't one that I can share because it is part of the textbook that we bought that we are allowed to replicate, but not everybody is allowed because they don't have the same permissions. But it could be something as simple as a form. Multiple choice or open-ended questions. It really depends. I think most of you guys are ESL teachers, but if you're thinking about HSE, English, it's the same thing. You have multiple choice, you have those open-ended questions. Anything like that could be part of like a final exam. But if you want to get creative and you want to go beyond, paper, pencil, fill in the blank, circle the dot, and really see how those skills are going, you might consider real life applications and situations, which for ESL are so much fun. Like one of the things that I love doing are mock interviews. And this can be a summative assessment because it reviews all of their skills. How do they interact? How should they respond? Are they answering the questions appropriately? Are they understanding the questions? And this makes it a little different because for each person, for each teacher, they use a different curriculum. They use a different rubric. So not everybody's rubric is going to be the same. This is all teacher based. I mean, you can have a general rubric, but how you grade a student's progress is going to be dependent on the teacher. So mock interviews are really fun and really exciting to do because they get the students it gets them interactive. They get to use these skills, and before they actually go into the workplace, it's something just to give them a trial. So that link right there, Monse, if you could click on it.
This one.
Yes. So this is just a list of conversation interview questions that I use a lot in my classroom. It's a quick open source for everyone. It's just questions that they might hear if they're doing an interview, and it's very quick. This is something, you can go and search interview questions and you'll get so many, but this one is really quick and really fun. And again, you can build your own rubric for it. All right, and then go back, Monse. Thank you. You can also have them order food, and I love doing this. We had a conversation class, so when we were face to face, we would go out to a restaurant and they would all have to order their food. And it was never a Mexican restaurant because that was like our Hispanic population. Very somewhere they had never been and get them out of their zone. I also had them order pizza one time over the phone because they panic over the phone. So all of these can be skills, everyday skills. Filling out applications, that is a little more paper and pencil, but still, bank account, a job application, library card, even a new student form. All of these are things that you can do that would be a summative assessment, okay? And then project-based. Project-based is so much fun because it gets them out. It gets them interactive. It gets them using their hands or using critical thinking skills. Typically, these are the ones that I do for my HSE class rather than ESL. Because ESL, tends to be a little bit less tech savvy than some of our HSE students. So this is project-based are definitely a little bit more of the tech, high-tech kind of aspect. Of course, depending on what kind of project it is. But Google Slide presentations or essays, oral presentations are really fun, and I tie them together with my Google presentation. So for like my HSE, what we'll do is they'll pick a dream job and talk about it, and then they have to stand up in front of class and go over what their dream job is, how they, how it all connects together, what are their goals, and all of that. So that's really fun as well. I do some oral presentations with my ESL students. They do much better with real life applications though. And then there are student portfolios where you can just have a student gather all of their materials into one big folder, portfolio, board, whatever you want to call it, and present it at the end of class. Next slide, please. Perfect. So summative assessment has this kind of pattern, and you want to think about this when you're delivering it, is it's not just giving them a test so that they can pass, but it is about applying. You want to apply you want to administer the assessment to the students. That's like first and foremost. You always want to give it to them. But what do you do with the material afterwards? What do you do with the results, the responses? So the next part is review. And I tried to do ours and I just couldn't get it. So we're going to do apply, review, and revise. So you want to review them. You want to review their understanding, the comprehension. What were some highlights? What were some hiccups? And this could be highlights for the presentation or the delivery of materials, or it could be the highlights and hiccups of the comprehension. So this is for you to review, how did the students do versus how well did you present the curriculum. And this is where you get to revise. You get to think about what you did good, what you did great, what needs work. And it's a constant review. You don't want to just take one project and do it over and over and over again. You want to be active as a teacher. You know, this is what we're going to do. this is how they did. Let me think about how I can make it better. And that doesn't mean that every time you're going to make it or do some changes, but you're going to change it until you get it where you want it to be. So apply means giving it to them, review any of the responses. So whether it's, the project or an exam, you're going to want to review it and see what can be changed or not. And when you revise it, you want to really, really think about how can I make this 10 times better. All right. Monica, I give it back to you.
Thank you, Mariah.
Take a breath, Mariah.
You did it perfect. So
Good job. Good job.
I just drank some coffee, and so I'm like all jittery, and I really shouldn't have done that.
so something to remember is that, of course, the most important part, and we're gonna come back to a little bit to needs assessment. So putting all these pieces together, you can see the alignment, right? You have the needs assessment, you assess the need, you assess the needs, then you have the formative, the continuous checking, feedback process, and then you have summative, right? And this is important to mention also. And something Mariah said, in terms of portfolios and high-tech things, it required time, right? But it's not impossible. I've been working in this transition with students, and I'm sure you guys are. So I want to encourage you to think about it, and maybe we can really plan how to do it, because portfolios and presentations are very important, and it's a demonstration of the skills, right? So we should always also push a little bit our students a little bit into the high tech, because now the world is very rigorous, right? You need to do all this, even for the vaccine, you need to do it online, right? So it's very important. And before we were like afraid of overwhelm our students, but now basic things like a registration for a vaccine, like the task is not that tech, but for some students it's very challenging. However, now, like Mariah said, job applications and all of those things are very important that we teach, because some of students could get a lot of opportunities online. So in conclusion, that's the point, is that I want you to encourage you, because that's what we are doing the workshop. We talk a lot of information that maybe you're familiar with, but the point of this, and this is fast, right? Because we just have 30 minutes and we don't want to take more time. But if you have the time, check the resources. Imagine that you I want to try this thing. Let's plan. So we can meet on February 24th. It's next week already. So we have an hour to work with you and help you to plan some of these assessments. It could be a needs assessment. It could be a formative assessment that you want to use, rubrics, interviews, or it could be like a summative plan that you want to do next semester or in the next week. So yes, let's use this time for something useful for you. So the last thing that we want to encourage you to do and to bring ready for next week, we created this Jamboard. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but what we want you to do is to think about your class, and then right here, and we put here the instructions. So if you're not familiar, go to the left. You're gonna find the toolbox, so all the tools that Jamboard offers. So here is sticky note. So what I want you to do is, when you talk about needs assessment, click on the sticky note and put, for example, I'm just gonna say it's an interview, right? Interview one-on-one. And you're just gonna add it there. Okay, save, and then you're gonna put it here. And then I want you to list all the needs assessment strategies you use in your class, in your program. Then for formative, just in the text, let's go back to the text, the tools, and then you have text. Click on here, then you make it's a little rectangle, and you can type formative. We like to do rubrics, right? Feedback rubrics or rubrics. Then some of the tools are both, right? Because rubrics also can be formative or summative, depending. And then for summative, for example, we can say is an oral presentation. So this is the point that we want you to come ready on our next workshop, so you can show us what you're doing, and then what are you planning to do, so we can collaborate and we can share some tools. And also maybe you want to share with us some things that you are using and are working very well in your classroom. So go ahead.
We're supposed to fill this out before next week.
Yes, yes, that would be
Okay,
great.
so how do we assess it? How do we
What do you
get to
mean?
it?
Oh, we're gonna email you that part.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
worry about it. We're gonna hit
Okay.
you. We can. This is a very good question. Thank you for mentioning that. We are going to email you a link. It's going to be copy, like a view version. You gotta make a copy so you can write on it
Okay.
because it makes sense in that case because then it's private. Okay.
Right.
And then if you get the email and you don't know how to do it, you can email us back and we can help you out. But the goal is that you come ready for the workshop because we just have an hour and we're going to really take advantage and have these meaningful conversations and try to create a plan that can help you and support your instruction. Okay? So, with that said, well, thank you for joining us today. I think we're over 6 minutes. And I don't know, but thank you so much. It was a very nice webinar. And also, we are glad that you attended today. Thank you for your time. It's just a little feedback. And then please feedback form. If any of you, Don, Maria, can share the link on the chat so you can fill it out.
It's there.
Excellent. And if you have any questions at any point, please let us know. We are planning these webinars and workshops for you. Okay. So thank you again for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Farah, Emily, can we meet in 15 minutes?
Yes,
Okay, bye.
you bet. Bye.